Where the people at? Where they at? Get down. Hey, it's Amari Purple Talk episode 101. Amari Communications podcast about all things Prince. We're back, and joining me is a brother that I've imagined being on this show when Amari Purple Talk first started. We go all the way back to high school, and he's also the brother, the keyboard man who had my back when I forgot the guitar solo. So here he is, the one and only Walter Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said earlier, once again, I'm honored and grateful that you would even uh, include me on your podcast. I really appreciate that. I really thank you for thank you for thinking of me, and I
Uh,
appreciate that. And and that introduction, like wow, brought back some memories. So like,
oh yeah.
way back in the day. So
Oh yeah. We'd have to do a separate podcast about the musical adventures of Richard and Walter. Coming to a podcast near you.
oh man, yes we will.
All right. So, like I said, back season 3, had a month and a half off, trying to finish some projects, kind of get a work-life balance going. I've been playing the Avengers game on Xbox. Been playing Saints Row 4. I don't know if you ever played Saints Row 4.
No. I
Ah,
wish I had
it's
time to play anything.
okay, dude. So before we make this a podcast about Saints Row 4, I'm going to give a quick synopsis. So basically,
Okay.
if anyone has never played this game, it's like you start the game off, you stop a terrorist attack. So you save the world from nuclear destruction. Then you're elected president of the United States. And on your first day as president, aliens come and attack.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this game is bananas. I mean, I love it.
Wow. Really?
Oh, yeah.
But this is only Xbox exclusive, right?
I don't know
Is
if
it
it's on
on
the,
PS,
it might be on the other platforms.
PS4? Okay. All right. Wow.
But yeah, that game is awesome. Yeah, so when you get a chance, check it out.
So do you have to play the previous versions? Can you just jump right into, I guess, the Saints
Yeah,
Row
it
universe?
drops you. Yeah, it drops you right
All
in.
right.
Like I said,
So I
you
don't have to play the first three versions and beat the boss or whatever. And
no, you just jump in, save the world from nuclear destruction, and be president, and then fight aliens.
wow.
That is it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. So now, before we make
um,
this is not a game podcast. It's a Prince
right.
podcast. So all right. So
Exactly. Exactly.
we're gonna jump into the first topic. First
Right.
topic is going to be our reaction to the Do Me Baby demo that was released by the Prince Estate. It's available for pre-order as a 7-inch single, and it's also available on cassette, but the cassette is already sold out.
Wow.
Uh, so I did kind of jump on and get or pre-order the 12-inch, or not 12-inch single, the 7-inch single, because they offered me a 10% off when I first logged in. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and use the 10% off coupon. So this is going to be released. I forget the actual date, but it'll be January of 2022 when this drops. So I've had a chance to listen to it on streaming, and I like it. To me, it's a little bit better than a demo. It reminds me of a lot of like kind of Shaka Khan. And we know Prince was a big Shaka Khan and Rufus fan. So it has a lot of those elements to me in it. But I think the official version that's on Controversy is the one that works a lot better. So, Walt, what do you think of the Do Me Baby 12 inch, or I was saying 12 inch, 7 inch single?
Um, for me, you know, it's a pretty song. I mean, when you listen to the melody, it's a really pretty song. It just doesn't fit the theme of controversy. Uh, once again, look at the title, "Do Me, Baby." I mean, that's a raw statement. So, with a raw statement, you should have, for lack of a better term, a raw melody. It should be something that should just kind of be in your face. And this particular song is it's a pretty song. It's a beautiful song, and it reminds me more of Morning Papers than anything. It's like a song you
Okay.
would play, with your significant other. Like, hey, listen to, you listen to the keyboard riff and the melody, and it's a really pretty melody. But you have this pretty melody to this to this in your face statement of "do me," and it's like, well, wait a minute, how does that's it's kind of, for me, it didn't, it
Mhm.
wouldn't fit the theme of the album. And once again, you have an album that's called Controversy, and when you hear the word controversy, it's on a subconscious level, it makes your ears perk up. You know, if someone says, "Hey, well, the president made a controversial statement," oh my goodness, what did he say? You know, or Richard Cole made a controversial statement. Oh my goodness, what did he say? So, so every song should be just like that. It should just grab you almost by your shirt collar. But this song, that 7 inch version, I was like, it's pretty, but it should be called something called, "Hold My Hand and Let's Play in the Sand," on the beach, and we could write a song, to that. For me, it would not fit the theme of controversy. Every song on Controversy was very hard hitting, and I'm glad that he went back in and retweaked that song, and in the version that we have now. Oh yeah, I mean, you know, as I think I said, earlier, when you hear that 7 inch version, that's more like your significant other, you're holding hands while you're walking down the beach. But Do Me Baby is like, I barely know you, you barely know me, we're adults. Hey. and, and to a certain degree, that's controversial. A lot of people are like, well, hey, but if you're with your significant other, you listen to slow music holding hand, that's not controversial. That's not controversy. What's controversy? Do Me, Baby. I barely know your name, but still do me. And that, to me, that statement, you need to have the music that would actually complement that statement. And once again, controversy. So
Yeah.
those are my
And
thoughts.
okay. All right. And that's basically it. To me, Do Me Baby is sort of equal to Prince what Let's Get It On is to Marvin Gaye.
Right. Totally
And
agree.
yeah, and ironically, Prince did write a song called Walk in Sand about that very thing. Walking on the beach.
Well, he mentions that in the morning papers, and that's when I mean, literally, when I first
Yep.
heard that 7 inch version, somehow the morning papers popped in my head because that's one of my favorite songs, and it just popped in my head. I'm like, this melody is more like the morning papers. This is what it reminds me of. This is something that you sing to the love of your life. Do Me Baby is kind of like, maybe not Miss Right, but Miss Right Now is what is what Do
Yeah.
Me. Now, granted, I mean, and please, and don't take it wrong, because you can still be with your significant other, still, still have Do Me Baby.
Mhm.
It's good to keep that passion and excitement in your relationships. So it doesn't have to always be, sunshine and rainbows, unicorns. Sometimes
Exactly.
you want raw. As you said earlier in your podcast, you want that balance, and life is all about that balance.
Balance. Yep.
So,
That's it.
but granted, if you have an album that's called Controversy, that's sort of like that's sort of like your boundary. So this whole album is called Controversy. Every song should be boom in your face, raw, and let's do it. You know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
I
thought,
mean, it was a pretty song, but I'm glad he changed it. I would prefer that song be called something else, and I would still love it just the same.
yeah. And, we were talking before the show. that, probably he changed some notes or, rearranged some of it to, because remember Andre Simone was the one where he says he came up with that melody. He might have been like,
Yep.
it's like, let me fix this so he don't come back and sue me.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that too. That's something that could be in the back of his mind. As he was re-engineering that song and reproducing it. Like, hey, add a little bit, make that bass line a little bit more profound. You know, you know, that was
Yeah,
some good
and
bass in that song. Oh man, oh that bass line.
oh yeah, yeah, and I don't think it changed lyrically much from the demo
No,
to the
it
new version.
lyric, yeah, lyrically. Well, see, that's the weird thing about it because lyrically speaking, it was pretty much the exact same song, but it was just, but also he arranged it a little differently in the 7-inch version because it matched the melody more. But what actually made the final cut? I mean, yeah, lyrically speaking, it's the exact same song. I don't remember hearing any. I didn't remember hearing any different lyrics. I don't think. Um, Now, granted, that was like 2 or 3 days ago. So I should listen to it
Mm.
right before the podcast. Didn't do my homework, but
No, you did. Yeah, you did good. That's me
but
too. Sometimes.
yeah, but I don't. Yeah, lyrically speaking, it's the exact same song. It's just it's too pretty of a song for Doomy Baby. It's just sometimes you want to be raw, and it's, you just Doomy Baby is not Doomy Baby is not a happy statement. It's a raw statement.
Right.
I mean, it's directed to the point. It's that's
Is
what I want.
right. It's unadulterated.
Right, exactly.
It
Unadulterated, unapologetic. It's like do me. It
yeah.
wasn't like, excuse me, miss, do you mind? Can you? No, do me. Just boom, straight to the point. And so it's something like that. You don't need something to be so heavy with the piano. And, I mean, you want it, boom. That bass line in there is raw. Boom.
Yep.
And then when he changed the way he arranged it, as far as his vocals, I mean, everything was, yeah, I'm like perfect. I mean, it was. I'm pretty sure even when Prince completed it, he was like, "Oh yeah," you just know. You're like, "Oh yeah."
Oh
So
yeah.
Prince
That
was
was.
like, and I'm pretty sure Prince said, "No one would ever. This song would never see the light of day." Here we are discussing it, right? I'm pretty sure there's a lot of songs Prince like, no one would ever hear this song ever. You
I know he's like, why are you putting this out? I
know?
didn't
It's like,
want that one out.
oh, right. It's like, oh, and that's to say he's turning in his coffin right
Yeah, he was
now.
like,
Nah, I think
nah,
he's gonna be
I think
okay
he knew a lot of the stuff would come out, but I think I don't know. I'm kind of speculating because I mean I didn't have a conversation with him, or Prince never called me and said, Richard, what do you think I should do with these songs in the vault? Yeah, it's like, well, Prince, what you should do with the vault, but
right? In my personal opinion.
right, but I want to speculate and say that what he was thinking about were there were a lot of songs that are finished and polished, and maybe they were considered for certain albums, or it just wasn't the right song for that album yet, and it was just a matter
Mhm.
of time. Say if he was still here, or if he was still here and talking about 10, 15, 20 years later, then that one song would have been right for a particular project. I
Mhm.
think he was thinking about songs like that, but the stuff that was unfinished, or if it was in the demo stages, or if he needed to add some more instruments or some more voices to it, those things I think he would have preferred to sit in the vault, let
Right.
nobody touch those.
Right. And I can understand. I mean, you and I, we've done songs like that where it's like, you just may have just a bass line and that's about it, or you just may have these vocals that sound like crap, but you don't want to hear it, and all of a sudden sees the light of day, they're like, ew, that sounds horrible. Well, yeah, it's not finished.
Well, our vault will never see the light of day. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
or will
This is true.
it? Or will
Inquiring
it?
minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to
I
know.
don't know. And people are like, what? What are they talking
Right.
about? All right, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's true.
let's see. So we'll wrap this topic up with just kind of
Okay.
discussing the physical media. It's coming out as a 45 7-inch single. It's also a cassette, which you know I enjoy vinyl having made a huge comeback. Cassettes, they were cool back in the day when they were around, but just kind of now, I don't know. I'm not really feeling cassettes just because of the issues that have played cassettes even when we were buying them heavily. So I don't know
Hmm.
if it's a good idea as a novelty or a collector's item, but it's something that you want to be able to play over and over and enjoy it, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And I guess you can say the same thing about vinyl, but if you take care of your vinyl, you can get
Right.
a lot of life out of it, hundreds of plays later.
Yeah.
But even though vinyl is beating out CDs at this point, streaming right now is still kind of king of the hill. So Walter, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get your opinion because I think you're mostly into the digital and the streaming and digital
Right.
download.
Yeah. I was at, at the beginning when you mentioned that that 7-inch was going to be on cassette. I didn't realize there was still cassette. I mean, I have a cassette player at home, but it's not plugged into anything. It's just gathering dust. So, and I'm shocked that people would still prefer to listen to a cassette. Um, I mean, I don't know if maybe somebody has an older car and maybe there's a cassette player in their car. Um, but yeah, you're right. Some of the problems with the cassette, you remember. I mean, sometimes the tape would come out of the plastic case. You had to gently pull that from between the
Yep.
rollers and the in those pincers. And if you messed up, I mean, you just ruined your tape. I mean, that's back when we were buying cassettes. I mean, I think they were going for I don't know $5 or $6 a pop or whatever. And we weren't millionaires back then. But I mean, yeah, sometimes what would happen is you pulling on that tape, and you have to. I mean, you have to be skilled as a surgeon. You're pulling it through those rollers and those pincers, and right when you think you got it, you really don't have it because I've ruined it. There's times when you just kind of get frustrated,
Yeah.
you pull on it, and it snaps, and you like at that point you don't care because it's like you just yanking it out, and it's no good. You just got to toss the whole thing, and you're like,
Yep.
"Grr." And then I'm coming to you like, hey, can I make a copy of your cassette with a blank cassette, which I know is it's copyrighted and all, but I wasn't going to sell it, but it was just to
Right.
replace, it was to replace what I just lost, and so when you and I, uh, which is so funny because when we transcended over to CDs, it bring back memories because I remember you
Yeah.
and I were just we fought it tooth and nail. No, we're not going to do a CD. We're not going to do. Why would you do if it gets scratched or screwed? Da, 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 and then
Well,
so
no,
we went
that
to
was
CD.
well. No, the thing with the CD though was that it was the price point because it was more expensive than
Oh
vinyl
yeah,
when they first came
yeah,
out.
yeah.
But somewhere, I think cassettes were the happy medium economically
Well, it's portable,
for us,
so that's what I mean,
and
obviously,
that too.
you can right. It's a portability, and I think then from cassettes you go into the CD, which you get better sound quality, and you don't have to worry about once again the tape unraveling or anything like that. And but I think it really boils down to portability, and I'm surprised that even vinyl is making a comeback. Because obviously you can't take that to the beach, and you can't take your vinyl on a subway train. but obviously you can sit at home, in your house and you can listen to it. And some people say they just love to hear that needle, popping, popping on the vinyl. I mean, I have a ton of vinyl still here. I don't have anything to play it on. I don't have a vinyl player. I said I was going to get one, but obviously I haven't done it. And you're right because I'm more into streaming. It is for me. Just one thing about the streaming is that it's just so much easier. Um, if I can go to Spotify and I can, I have a couple Prince playlists, and I can go directly to the song I want to listen to. Instead of me, if I had vinyl, if I want to hear, if I want to hear Hot Thing from the Sign of the Times album, obviously I want to go through my collection, go to the P section, and then go through all these albums and find the Sign of the Times, grab the Sign of the
Right.
Times album, walk over to the record player, then pick up the needle, and then you have to count the grooves on there, like, okay, it's going to be after that and then go
Right.
sit down. But by that time, I would have already heard like 4 or 5 Prince songs by the time I would have gone through my collection. So it's just, it's one of those, and one is not good, one is not bad. It's six on one side, half a dozen on the other. It's just what a person's personal preference is. And for me, my preference is definitely, I don't know, it's definitely digital, just for the portability, and for me, I can, because I'm always multitasking, and I guess maybe I need to get some vinyl just to sit down. Maybe maybe I need to get some vinyl to like slow me down. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need to be slowed down. But
Mm,
once again, it's I mean, we grew up listening to vinyl. I remember as a kid in my room, um,
mm.
and I had my little cheap record player, and then you remember some of you had to like tie like a penny, a coin on the head of the needle so it would skip. And that was
Oh yeah.
another thing too, because you don't want you don't want to scratch your vinyl, but it's like you said before, it's all about taking care of. So,
Oh yeah. Well,
so
now it's the thing with physical media as far as like vinyl. It's more well the I would say this generation was very instrumental in bringing vinyl back.
yes,
But at the
oh
same
definitely,
time, yeah, at the same time, you had collectors, say our generation, some older generations, to where the industry is marketing, both sides, definitely to the younger generations that discovered this magical thing called vinyl, and as well as like the serious collectors, and it's not just the Prince box
Mhm.
sets, there's, whether it's Dylan or whether it's the Beatles, whether it's Hendrix, whether it's
Mhm.
Miles Davis or Duke Ellington, it's
Right.
they're marketing not only what you're playing, but what you're playing it on. So now, yeah, these turntables have gotten even more expensive than when we were coming up. And there's so much
Oh
that you
really?
pay, the assembly, it's almost like it's like being a professional DJ almost. You're paying attention to the weight of the stylus and is it a diamond needle versus this type of needle? And you know,
Right.
that way you don't have to put the penny or the quarter or whatever on the needle to keep it from spinning or skipping like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know for me, as far as I agree with what you're saying, is the convenience of streaming. Yeah, because for me, I would say, because the car that we have now, my wife hates it because you can't put a CD anywhere because there's no CD anymore. And, for me, in a way, if I want to listen to just an album or certain CD where I've made a playlist, yeah, I can no longer do that. But I do agree,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a lot easier just to Bluetooth my phone or use a USB and plug it in, and I
Right.
don't have to think about, oh, what album should I bring this time or what artist do I want to listen to? I can just pull it up on the phone and just plug in the USB and then,
Yeah.
off to work I go.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but the I've gotten back into vinyl the last few years,
Hmm.
and because I still have some vinyl, or at least half of my collection. I have no idea where the other half went. So I had spent like the last 3 years replacing what I lost, and then acquiring a few new things here and there, or things that I've always wanted but never had the chance to get when it was already out.
Yeah.
And for me, I just bought like a little. It's a sound design little component set. Bought it from the Goodwill. Not even $25, man.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then the same bought a bought a little Sony boombox that I play my CDs
Mhm.
on. Same Goodwill, didn't cost nothing. So if I make the big time, if I can sell enough Amari Purple Talk T-shirts, then I'll get one of those fancy turntables and assemble the stylus and get the diamond needle and get the big speakers and I'll get to sit back and relax too.
It's funny you bring up the CDs because um, I have to give some CDs away. I went to Vintage Vinyl to sell some CDs, and it didn't buy all of them, which is I kind of surprised. I kind of expected that, so I wasn't that surprised. Um, but you're right about the CDs as far as there is a convenience, and I noticed in new cars. My car is not that. My car is old. It's a 2012. So I still have a CD player, so I can actually listen to CDs if I want to. And every now and then I have.
Hmm.
But yeah, you're right. The way the technology was leaning more towards streaming. But I do see them marketing more. You're right. This newer generation somehow I guess they wanted that retro, and it was because of them that they brought back the vinyl. And I don't see it being a bad thing. I see it being a good thing. I mean, I think that's nice that someone um, they want to see how we experience music as it were back in the day. Just a different way.
Hmm.
And I don't know how much of the vinyl LP is going for nowadays. I mean, what's an average price? I haven't even priced one. I was just in vintage vinyl, a couple of months ago selling those CDs. I kind of walked around and brought back memories. And they had some vinyl in there, but I didn't even check the price. I was just going down memory lane, and they had tons of but they had tons of CDs in there. So I mean, people are
Oh
still
yeah.
buying CDs. So I mean, they can't play it in your car, but I mean, you can still play it. I mean, there's certain boom boxes. You can play your CDs in, and obviously you can play them on your computer or your stereo at home. Um, I don't, yeah, but I can't remember. I can't remember the last time I even played a CD. So I can't remember the last time I played a cassette, which I'm shocked that they would even bring back. To me, I don't know. To me, cassettes to me, I don't know. I guess because I lost so many cassettes. That's a sore spot with me. I don't see why we even need cassettes. I mean, why would you need a cassette player? Because I mean, you have to fast forward. Remember back in the day? I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
just a certain song you want to get to. You fast forward, but you had to rewind. You had to fast forward. You had to rewind until you got to that sweet spot. Now, but right, and then but some of the if I remember correctly, I think I had a cassette player that would the way it was built is that when you fast forward, it would stop. So it can read the tape. So when it came across a blank space, it would stop. So that's how
Oh
you were
yeah.
able to get to the song that you want. And I
Yeah, I
can't
remember
remember
that.
what that. Yeah, I can't remember. It's a feature, and I can't remember what that feature is called. And I think I had it in my car, and that was like beautiful to me because it was like cool. I can
Mm.
get to the song I want. And then you didn't have to even worry about. You just hit the fast forward button, and it'll just stop, boom, and it'll play. You were like, cool. You know. Now that didn't stop the tape from coming out of the little plastic case and getting to all the rollers in there. That always just continued. That was just I don't know what even caused it. I don't know what would cause it. Maybe playing the tape too much. I don't know. But I lost so many cassette tapes to that. And I was like, And I still have cassette tapes to this day. And I guess I should have took those down to finish vinyl because if cassette tapes are a thing now, heck, I'll sell these. I don't know, I have a lot of
Oh yeah. I would. Yeah, I mean, you could do that. I would say do eBay or something or Amazon. Get your money's worth out of it.
them. And think about Amazon, yeah, eBay, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I could create an Amazon store. What do you think?
Yeah, but I
Good.
agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with the cassette. It's even though like the sound design and even this boombox, they both have cassettes. Both of them have a tendency to eat cassettes because I've tried to play Maserati cassette, and each time it kept trying to eat it up. And like you said,
Uh,
I gotta get it out of between those rollers. Oh man,
right.
I managed to save it, but I do have Maserati on vinyl now, so
Okay.
so now it wouldn't be a total loss. But before I ended up with the vinyl, yeah, it was like the
Okay.
cassette was the only thing I've had. I've had it since since '86 since it came out.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought you
one
had
of the
the
few.
vinyl. Okay, because I have it. I have it on vinyl. I thought you had it on vinyl because I thought you and
Yeah,
I were
you
big
had
on
it.
vinyl.
No, you had it first. I mean, I just got
Oh,
this
really?
vinyl. Yeah, like a couple of years ago. But the cassette I've
Oh,
always
okay.
had since '86.
Oh, okay.
All right. So before we turn this into the physical media show, we're going to move on to our next topic, and that is Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Edition. When will it happen? So October 1st was the anniversary, the 30th anniversary of the release of Diamonds and Pearls. Uh, Prior to the announcement for Welcome to America, there were rumors of a Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe being on deck by the Prince Estate and Sony Legacy. But nothing has happened. October 1st, when the estate was acknowledging the anniversary, the rumors started all over again. Like, oh, it's coming. They're going to announce it. It's going to be tomorrow. They're going to announce it. And so far, a couple of weeks have gone by and still nothing from the estate, nothing from Sony. There are rumors that it could happen next year. And, there's a lot of factors, not just with, Sony Legacy, but the music industry in general, and everything happening all over the planet as far as the global supply chain. So, and also labor shortages, where the manufacturing plants, they don't have either the staff or the raw materials available to produce any type of physical media, therefore causing delays, not only probably with the Super Deluxe Edition with Diamonds and Pearls or whatever the next Prince release may be, but a lot of other artists in general. But also, with those rumors swirling, there's been a lot of, like I've noticed over the last couple of weeks on social media, a lot of people that were for a sign of the times, Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Edition, and then there were a lot of other ones that I want my Parade Super Deluxe Edition. No, I want Around the World in a Day. No, I want everything from the '90s. I want Musicology Super Deluxe Edition. So basically, I think it might be a good idea to do with Diamonds and Pearls because we've had 1999. We've had Sign of the Times Super Deluxe. I think Sony Legacy with the estate, this would be just one assumption that they just wanted to do something different and highlight, other eras and other aspects of Prince's career. And if you really look at Sony's track record, they'll do something, say, Dylan's classic 60s period and focus on that. Or I don't know. Actually, I think they've been going in chronological order. I think, if I'm not mistaken. But something like Miles Davis, they'll focus on, say, Bitches Brew, do a super deluxe, and then go back to like his sort of 50s period and do, um, oh, shoot, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but In a Silent Way or something, and acknowledge that era and do that as a super deluxe. So, Walter, I'm going to throw it to you and
Hmm.
ask, are you excited for a Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe? And what do you think should be on it?
Am I excited? Well, yeah. I mean, Diamonds and Pearls. one of my favorite ones. Um, uh, because is I you you mentioned you touched upon something earlier in the conversation as far as the way Sony operates, as far as there may be a Dylan's era or classic a classic era. And but one thing that if you notice, with Prince, and I'm assuming that Prince probably dated, I guess, the songs in his vault. So I guess that's how they know that. But hey, this has a date of I don't know, I'm just throwing out a date, like 10, 11, 87. So they'll say, okay, well, 1987, should we put this like, you know, it sort of sounds like maybe Hot Thing. I don't know why I keep referring to that song. Sort of sounds like Hot Thing from the Sign of the Times. So we'll put this on the Sign of the Times deluxe edition. But what if Prince really wasn't, maybe Prince didn't really, that particular beat wasn't, or that melody or that song wasn't meant for Sign of the Times. Maybe it was meant for Under the Cherry Moon. I'm just looking at any album
Mm.
prior to Sign of the Times. So yeah, that's one of the things I've always wondered, like who is actually sitting back and actually doing any kind of fact checking or date checking on this. And I mean, obviously, like if using the Sign of the Times as an example, we know that the B side, La La La, He was actually a B side. So we know I can see, yeah, any kind of B sides. I would love to see any B side um, on the Diamonds and Pearl Super Deluxe. And I can't right now. I can't remember the B sides. I'm trying to remember. Cause see, the funny thing. Once again, the funny thing about the B sides is when you're still dealing with vinyl. So when vinyl slowly started fading out, you didn't have quote unquote the B side anymore. And it's so weird to call something a B side when I don't have that 45 in front of me. So it's
Right.
kind of like now it's just, So when you say those B sides, I'm thinking I got to kind of recalibrate my brain again because I'm so when you say B side, it takes me back to being in, as Prince would say, a record store. So in a record store someplace,
Record
and I'm
store.
looking at at a record store, and I'm looking at this 45, and we always remember we used to look at the B side. What's the B side? Because sometimes the
You're
B
right.
side was better than what was the actual single. You like screw the single. This B side is hit.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, this should have been on the album. And and but to me, so I think that kind of ingrained something in our subconscious to a certain degree. Like B sides are always going to be better, or they're at least, at the very least they're worth listening. And you listen with so much enthusiasm because those B sides will incorporate certain songs from the album. Whether just a certain feel, maybe a certain beat, a certain you know with some maybe when the way he used certain keyboard riffs, or maybe back those days we were using with keyboards, we're using a lot of the rolling keyboards, and you like a particular horn sound. Yeah, the B side got the
Mm.
same horn sound from the second song of that album. So I always get excited about, if there's going to be a B side, because that means that for me, I always felt like, okay, well, these songs were not good enough to make the cut. You thinking like, man, this song is better than three. This B side is better than three songs on an album. How come this did not make the cut? And but for instance, has so much music, and I can understand his need for a B side. So obviously, for Diamonds and Pearls, I want all the songs from that album plus any B sides. And I guess they'll and with the obviously with the Prince estate and Sony, I mean they have access to all the music, so they'll add some other things that we have not yet heard. And I'm always excited about hearing new music from Prince. I mean, you know, it's a shame that we lost such an artist, but then also on the flip side, we're getting to hear these different songs from him. Like, oh my goodness, it's like this is beautiful. How come we didn't, hear this when you were still alive? Why did you keep this from us? And now we get a chance to hear all this music. It's like, wow. So I'm excited for any special edition. And I'm not gonna sit, and I'm not one to say, oh, well, how come, like I said, how come we don't have a musicology? special edition? How come we don't have, lotus flowers? I mean, maybe in due time it'll come, but let's be happy with, let's enjoy it because I think they're going in chronological order, like you said, and because there's just so much music and they're listening to so many different things, and they got to remaster a lot of this stuff because a lot of this stuff was in this uncut form. You bring in all
Yeah.
these different engineers, and it's like, well, hey, can you bring the bass up on this, and maybe take some of that snare off, and hey, can we just add just a tad more hi hat? I mean, they have to make sure, and if they were supposed to release it now, but they're saying till wait till next year, let's wait till next year. Let's give them the time necessary to really fine tune this. Because this is what Prince would want. Prince doesn't want to put out, excuse my language, but a half-ass product. So I said, take the time you need, and everyone who's complaining about it, just it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be
Yeah.
okay. Enjoy the music. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So that's what give me B sides. I love B sides.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you
But
this,
I think Prince said, I think didn't did Sony release Warner Brothers? Remember they had back. This is when Prince was still alive. And then they had what was it B side? It was like a B side CD. It was nothing but quote unquote B side. I think
oh
they
yeah,
had
the hits and the B
yeah
sides.
the hits and the B sides. So yeah, I'm a B side fanatic.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I don't know, because before we got deep into music as musicians, we were just like regular record buyers, but we talked more comic books and records then. But I think like starting with something like "How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore," that B side, that was sort of, well, no, gotta stop messing about. That was kind of the first one, but I kind of remember people that weren't necessarily Prince fans that when Prince and the time came to St. Louis like in '83, and he did "How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore" in the set, and they were starting to kind of discover the B sides then. But kind of as you and I started becoming more, musically aware, yeah, you kind of made that quantum leap into like, yeah, I got this B side, it's Shockadelica, check it out, and it's like, wow, this is great. I got to get that, and I think La 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 he. I remember hearing the single version on the radio, but you had the 12-inch though.
Yeah,
You
it's
had the
like
12 inch
ten minutes
cassette.
long,
Yeah,
10 to 12 minutes.
yeah, but that's the version that that's the only version I play now because you made me the cassette because it had that a couple of other B sides and a couple of other extended versions from like I think like let's see, no, St. Paul's album wasn't out yet, but like maybe Alexander O'Neal, Jesse Johnson, something like that. And
Hmm.
yeah, so a lot of those extended versions were the versions I went for. And then,
Yeah.
so after that, it kind of became neck and neck because for us, if we were able to continue more as sort of like a live unit, then we would have gravitated more towards those B sides to cover while everybody else was just covering what was obvious. And
Right.
that would have been the thing to kind of give us a leg up then. But
All right.
but besides that, Prince more so than anybody else, those B sides were even more spectacular than anybody else's B sides.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, as I think as vinyl started to fade and those B sides fade, because I mean, technically a B side is just the back side to the single. So if you don't have a 45 anymore, technically you don't have a B side anymore. And so what do you do with those extra songs? So, because normally, if you remember back in the day, I think standard, I guess, record company protocol would be that you release a 45 single and the B side would just be the instrumental. And this is where a lot of the DJs
Mhm.
get, a lot of their music, especially a lot of the hip hop producers. So, the B side normally would just be an instrumental to the single. And that's, to me, an instrument back in those days, we're like, what am I gonna do with this instrumental? Ugh. Now it's so funny because nowadays I love instrumentals because, Sometimes I just like to let the music play in the background while I'm doing something else. But yeah, but I think, and I can't say that Prince was the first one to put new music on the B side. I don't know if he
Mm-mm.
was,
Oh
but
no,
when
it's been around
okay,
for a while.
so
Yeah, decades.
okay,
Yeah, before Prince.
so and then I've always wondered like what is the origin of the B side? Is it? I guess normally they'll just say, well, these songs didn't make the album because the album already had 10 songs, and this 11th song didn't make it. Which I could, 'cause I used to think like, well, when you want to just save it for maybe the next album, because see, Prince is the only artist. Well, the only artist that I'm really aware of. I know there's other artists that just about every single album is different. With Prince, you know that you know Purple Rain came out, but Around the World in a Day did not sound like Purple Rain. And
Right.
he does that on the purpose. And I love it. I love the fact that every album is different. Now you take a Judas Priest, and no disrespect to Judas Priest, their album's gonna pretty much kind of sound the same. You kind of know what you're gonna get, and you kind of know what lyrically speaking what the music is gonna be about, and once again, I'm throwing no shade at Judas Priest, and I love all. When I say all genres, I love all genres of music. But when you look at certain artists in this genre, and that's one thing about Prince, you really can't really put him in a certain genre. I mean, granted,
That's it.
they'll like to say, well, he's pop, he's R&B, but he also has some rock, he has some jazz, he has some classical. So I think I kind of got off the point here. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry
That
about
happens.
that.
It's a podcast. That's what we do. But yeah, I mean, that's valid, I think. Um, with it's not just being the B sides though, because I know with it looks like with they're following a formula with these special editions. You do get a disc that has all the singles, like even the short version of the A side, the short version of the B side. Then after that, there's the long version of the A side and the long version of the B side. You
Right.
get that. And I think the appeal for a lot of not only just music fans, but in this case, Prince fans, the appeal is not only the B sides, because a lot of fans don't really they don't care about the single edits that much. And
Hmm.
I really did. I stopped caring about the single edits because I think it got to a point, even back in like high school, I think I stopped buying singles, like 45 singles. I stopped like about 84. No, I take that back, 85. And I can tell you, no, I'm lying once again. 86. The last 45 single that I bought was the Kiss 45. Because it was just a thing of they're just gonna come out with the long version anyway.
Right. Right. Yep.
So, I don't know if they released those things the same day, but to us, if I remember, it felt like the single would drop, the 45 single would drop. Then it felt like weeks later or a month later, then the big 12-inch single would come out.
Yeah.
And with Prince, it was a thing of the second half of, whatever was on the 45 on the B side was just as exciting, if not more exciting than the single. So it was just
Yep.
like, forget it. I'll just wait, buy the 12-inch single. So yeah, that was the last 45 of anybody that I ever bought with that. I think I'm still like that to this day. Because even cassette singles used to piss me off. Because it was the same thing. You the sometimes it was a thing like with Prince, because you just couldn't wait to hear it. You might have bought
Yep.
that short version cassette single,
Yep.
but you knew you were going to buy the album and you knew you were going to buy the 12-inch single
Right.
or the maxi single as they were by that time in the case of Diamonds and Pearls. But it was a thing of uh, you know, there's this new Prince song and you just couldn't wait. And there's a B-side that you were curious to hear about and you couldn't wait the month and a half before the album actually comes out, or if there's going to be like a maxi single in between with the longer versions of it
Hmm.
on it. But I think with Diamonds and Pearls, it's it's I don't know how to put it. It's different because we are talking about the era of the maxi single at this point, to where you have not only just the longer version of whatever the A side was, you also had maybe, like in the case of Get Off, there were two or three B sides, even though they had the Get Off, beat playing in the background. But there was also the house music version, and then this music, this mix, and the Shep Pettibone mix, and
I was gonna say you reading my mind. I said, Chef Pettibone mix.
yeah.
Oh, you knew that was gonna be funky when you saw Chef Pettibone. Like, oh, I gotta listen to the Chef Pettibone
Oh
mix.
yeah. Although he wasn't on any Diamonds and Pearls that I know of, but yeah, he was the go-to guy at
No, he
one point
wasn't.
for that.
Yep.
And that would be great to hear. And I think that would be a lot different than the standard, you know, single edit, long version edit of some of the previous releases. And then the other appeal for Prince fans would be the vault tracks on that. And I used to have a bootleg CD that had some of those on it. I remember Schoolyard being one. Let's see, Something Funky, This House Comes was another one. That one, I would love to hear an official clean version of that, meaning that it's, remastered and mixed, and it's not that sort of muddy, off of somebody bootleg cassette, transferred to
Hmm.
CD version of it.
Right.
I forget some of the other titles on it. The Flow, I think, which was supposed to have been on Diamonds and Pearls, and then they just redid it for that Symbol album. Those were the three standouts for me. I can't remember the rest of the bootleg, but whatever is in that period, that would be an appeal. And again, the formula is that there are, I think, 2 discs of vault material. So if they can fill up 2 discs of vault material for Diamonds and Pearls, I would be for that. And it's an enjoyable record, I
Yeah, it
think.
is.
Yeah, I had fun with it. I know. Well, you remember I came back from living in San Francisco, came back here, came back home to St. Louis, and the events that ensued within that next year, was like, it was banana. It was just really crazy period.
Right.
And I remember during when they were announcing the anniversary and everybody was commenting and tweeting about it, I put out the tweet that, it was a crazy period for me, but it was the album, even though I enjoyed it, it was where I really needed artistic statement prints the most. I got
Hmm.
pop accessible prints instead. To where, like, yeah, the beauty of it is that he did go left field and say, yeah, I can produce a pop album just as good, if not better, than anybody else that's just doing pop. But
Right.
I also needed that, like you say, that controversy, not necessarily the sound like controversy, but that sort of bold, really left field, and you have to be on a certain level to catch up artistic statement
Right.
prints, what we've been
Right.
used to from, Dirty Mind all the way through, you know, maybe Love Sexy, I guess, kind of
Yeah.
that, which he kind of went back to in the 90s with a lot of that material. That was
Right.
the material I needed in 91, 92, the stuff he was doing in 93, 94, 95.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Which is,
I
I
would,
mean, that, I like that. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't, like I said, I'm excited for it. I wouldn't be mad if they dropped it. Yeah, I would probably would want a parade and around the world in a day
Mhm.
first. But, to me, I think they do have something of a plan. But I think the other thing that's derailing its release, not derailing, but delaying its release is the possibility of what is going on with the estate. And you've had a situation where three of the family members have sold off, you know, in if not whole shares of their interest in the estate to practically, 99% of their shares to the estate to this company called Primary Wave. And now that they are, I guess, something of a voice, I guess,
Mhm.
then maybe the delay is that I want to say, to keep it on a positive level, maybe they're coming up with better ideas for promotion and marketing. Maybe not interfering with how Sony puts the package together. They may contribute some ideas to add something to it as a selling point to maybe have it stand out from other artists, super deluxes that have been coming out.
Yeah.
But, it could be that, or, there could be even more friction now because you still have, I think, three other family members that are holding very tight to their shares and definitely have a say about how things should be going. And then you have this outside entity, something that ironically Prince was against outside ownership of his material or some
Yeah.
or giving someone else that type that wasn't a family member, I should say, have a voice, in how his music should be presented to the world. So I
Oh
mean
yeah.
that
Once
might
again, yeah, like you said before. I mean, he's turning over in his grave right now. I didn't know that. So the family members sold their. This is news to me. I didn't know that. Wow.
yeah, it
Okay.
started off with Tyka Nelson. She sold hers first, but she kept like I think like I don't know if it's 1% or half a percent. So
Oh wow.
she'll get a, if something say, initially makes $1 million, she'll get a, 1% of $1 million
Wow.
from it.
Well, I
But
mean, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I guess it is what it is. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have their reasons why they sold it. I mean, I don't. You know. I mean, you're right. Prince was against outside ownership, and I'm pretty sure. Obviously, if you and I know that, they definitely definitely would know that.
yeah,
So, you know, is I mean, and once again, I don't know what kind of issues that they're going through that they probably needed to sell. Obviously, it had to be a financial type issue that they're going on, and I can't judge anyone, because at the end of the day, they had to take care of themselves as well as their families, and if, and I would hope, instead of Prince, we joke if Prince is turning over in his grave, I would hope that there is some understanding that they had to do this but it's sad at the same time because this company that you're speaking of, I've never heard of. Oh,
yeah.
what is it?
Yeah, Primary Wave.
Prom-
Yeah, when,
Prominent. Okay.
yeah, Tyka first sold her shares. I know on Amari Purple Talk, there's been other podcasters that have devoted portions, or if not the whole episode, uh, to that situation. I did some homework, looked them up. There are a lot of major artists that are signed to this company. In fact, just recently, Jam and Lewis are signed with Primary Wave as far as I think management. But I think
Oh,
that's just yeah. But I think that's just for their solo album. As artists. I don't think Jam and Lewis are selling their publishing. They're not selling anytime soon. I don't think.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to it. They are experienced at what we now call branding. So to market an artist or an artist's music or likeness or whatever, in the 21st century, they're one of the companies that excel at that. So it's not just enough to sell, say, a box set of Prince's music to the fan base and record collectors in general.
Hmm.
They can somehow get that music, say, into a film or get it into, God forbid, a commercial. Um, Utilize TikTok or other aspects of the internet and kind of get his music to, maybe younger generations, get it out to more mainstream listeners to kind of come in as first generation Prince fans
Hmm.
and that. But again, too, I'm all, I mean, I drank the whole pitcher of Kool-Aid, when Prince was, you know, once you and I understood what the whole name change was about. I know you
Right.
figured that out. You figured that out first. But once we figured out what was going on, I drank the whole pitcher Kool-Aid. So, every time he was talking about artist rights and independence and ownership and freedom, I'm like, yeah, it's too many artists with that, that asterisk, on their name, where when they pass on, somebody's always fighting, over, or somebody's always losing out
Yeah.
on the publishing and everything.
Yep.
So yeah, so I mean, there's pros and cons to both sides of it.
Yeah. And the key is to try to find that middle ground. Because you're right. You have the pros, you have the cons, and you want to try to get that middle ground that everyone can be civil. And you're not going to be 100% satisfied, but you're satisfied to a certain degree. And you want to get that. You want to get that middle ground. You know, you may not get 100% of what you want, but you're like, okay, well, I got 50%, and the other person got 50%. You know, so but yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
Primary way.
yeah, and two, I know it's because of the circumstances surrounding, Prince's passing, and without there being a will, and you have these other entities that have been appointed to represent you, and you seeing this music go out, and you see it selling, people are buying it,
Yeah.
and yet and still you're still waiting for a paycheck. And then these family members, some of them, if they're not just living off of retirement money, and I mean I'm talking about like social security or some small pension, or they're still working a 9 to 5 job and barely making ends meet, and you seeing all this money coming in and it's not coming into your bank account. And yeah, I can kind of see the other side too, where it's like, yeah, let me go ahead and cash in, where that
Right.
might be the plight of some family members, and other family members are playing the long game, and fighting tooth and nail till they get to that end game.
Right.
But that'll be another topic for another day. And we're going to move this one over to our next topic, which is the one thing that we don't have in terms of box sets is a Prince box set that covers his entire career. Now, I don't know how long box sets have been around. I think I kind of became aware of them maybe late 80s, early 90s. And I think the two that stood out was, I think, Bob Dylan's first box set, which a friend of ours, you guys know him as PC Munoz. We ain't gonna put his real name out there. You know, we'll ask him first. But you guys know him as PC Munoz, and he had the Bob Dylan box set. It's called Biograph. And then the other one, which you guys might be familiar with too, is the James Brown Star Time box set, which Alan Leeds did the liner notes for that. And box sets in general, they would just cover, like, basically it's the greatest hits, maybe a couple of vault tracks, not too many. and then maybe a couple of live tracks mixed in, and that was it. But now, box sets, they kind of more like, okay, it's this album's 50th anniversary. So let's put this album out and all the vault stuff. And, if there's a live CD, put that in, or in some cases, there'll be that box set of the sessions and then a box set of an artist's entire tour, or 4 CDs of the tour, or something like that. But Prince, I think, deserves more of a career spanning box set just like that. Not a greatest hits type of a thing, really, but something that has his career where, disc one starts here, the final disc ends, 2016, however they would want to end it. And I think the plus side of it is that it would put in context what his career is about. So I know there are people out there that are Prince fans of one particular era and ignoring the other, or the previous era. And, as you and I were talking at the beginning or prior to the show, Prince is an evolutionary artist.
Right.
So, but also too, there is a timeline. And for my, Twitter folks out there that, my last couple of Twitter threads that I've participated in, the GIFs I've been using has been one of He Who Remains. I'm going to be that character for right now. Meaning that, for example, Prince is his own sacred timeline. So without his beginnings in the 70s, without his major success in the 80s, there would be no 90s. There would be no 21st century stuff that you can call your favorite. And that's the beauty of it, and especially for those of us that were there at whatever beginning point, whether it was from For You or people like me that came in through Dirty Mind, those albums and those eras are a generation of excitement and memories, but so are the 90s, like we just talked about, 93, 94, 95. That was a magic, that's a favorite period of mine. The video I've done about Emancipation, where to me that album should stand up with Songs in the Key of Life. It should stand up with George Harrison's All Things Must Pass.
Yeah.
And yeah, and shoot, let's see what else. Musicology, that was a favorite. 3121, I liked a lot of it when it came out. Wasn't a huge fan until I was asked to participate in the Twitter thread, and based on everybody else's insights, on the songs that they were chosen to participate in, um, their opinions, their ideas made me love that album even more. And also, too, as I said on this program, Artificial Age is my favorite 21st century Prince album. So yeah, we grew up in the 80s, cool. And it was a great period. Like I said, lots of memories, but there's something for everybody to enjoy. And if you just have a favorite, that's fine. Music is subjective. What I like, you might not like. What somebody else likes, somebody else might not like. And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay to do that. But, sometimes when I see a lot of the sort of negativity, like, well, why do they always have to focus on the 80s? Why do they have to focus on, well, the one thing, it is his classic period, and it's not, oh, let's cater to this one Prince fan's business. It's the music business. And that money that's generated from the 1999, the Sign of the Times, that's what's bringing us Welcome to America. And you look and see how well that sold. That was a top 5 record on the charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get Diamonds and Pearls and whatever else comes along. Like I said, there are things I want more of, But I'm not going to be mad if you drop a sign or Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe on me. And if it's an album where I'm like, well, maybe economically I might not be in the position to get it, or it might not be that much of a favorite to say, well, maybe I won't buy that Super Deluxe. Maybe I'll just buy the single CD. And still, it's still going to the estate. Hopefully it still helps to make money. Because if the beauty of Prince was that he also knew that not everybody was going to buy every single album, but somebody was going to at least buy one of them. And we're grateful to have a huge catalog of music to where, yeah, no matter what era is your favorite, that's the one that, you know, your time is coming. It will be coming. But as far as a Prince box set, like I said, it would have to be something that's unique. Um, I know there's only so many ideas and so many things you can do. And what they're doing with a lot of these anniversary editions of different artists, I mean, it's amazing. And again, it's a thing to where, I need to buy a lottery ticket or again, sell a bunch more Amari Purple Talk t-shirts. Maybe I might have to make a record, maybe we might have to put the band back together or something to have enough money to keep up with all these box sets. I mean, because now with the Beatles and Prince, everybody's on the bandwagon now. Rolling Stones have dipped into their vault. This artist has dipped into their vault. Everybody's got an anniversary edition and this color vinyl and 7 LPs and 10 CDs. Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with, and that industry knows as long as there's collectors, serious collectors, they're going to be out there. So to come up with something that would be unique, not only just to Prince fans, but again to that serious record collector, and also too because we're Prince fans, I don't think a just doing the hits, a few B sides, and a couple of vault tracks would be enough. And it would have to be something very unique. One of the templates would be the Jimi Hendrix box set that came out in 2000. And that one, they had alternate mixes and alternate versions of the hits, a lot of unreleased material, and a lot of live tracks on it as a selling point. And for that time, that did set apart from everybody else's box set because they were just doing the hits. Yeah. So, Walter, do you have any ideas on what a Prince box set would be? And since we haven't had it already, when do you think one would? When would one come out?
Wow. I mean, career spanning is like, oh, that's a lot of music. I mean, because you have to go back to the '70s up until when Prince passed in 2016. Because I mean, he was still making music then, and I guess from a marketing standpoint, that would be a lot. It would take you maybe a year to listen to through that whole box set, and so you got to look at, and I'm looking at it from a business perspective because you got to look at marketing. And I remember when you picked up that James Brown box set, I was like, wow, they had all
Yeah.
these James Brown songs, and I mean, a lot of
Yep.
his songs are like only 3 minutes long, so you had a ton of songs, but at the same time, I felt you almost there's a slight hint of anxiety because it's like you almost get overwhelmed with it. You're like, I want to listen to all this, and it's going to take a long time, and I got to carve out some time so I can listen to it. And for Prince, wow, it would be hard to pick which songs. I mean, obviously, from a marketing standpoint, they're going to want to put the songs that you hear on the radio. They're going to want to put the songs that people know the lyrics to. And I
Hmm.
can understand that because I mean, the whole idea of putting a box set together is to sell it, and this is where you kind of get into that into as I said earlier, that at a happy medium, that sweet spot. It's sort of like, we grew up reading comic books. So, of course, when they decided to start making comic book movies, superhero movies, we're like fanboys. We're very particular about our characters who we grew up with. And, when we heard like this actor's playing the role of this, we're like, oh, no, no. And then we see it, we're like, oh, man, that was awesome. And
Oh
so
yeah.
so like you said before, some people would be like, oh, how come they put this song on and that song, the other song was left off? You're not going to be able to make everyone happy. But to do a career spanning, that would be that would be hard to do because he has so much music. There's just so much. It's like, how do you even, how do you even, I guess, categorize it? I mean, if you want to go kind of, okay, so you want to start in the 70s.
Right.
I guess you can go that way, but once again, you got to pick from each, from each era, as it were, what songs to put on a career spanning. Because I would think for me, I think it should be something that shows Prince's versatility. That hey, this person can do
Hmm.
rock, this person can do classical, this person can do jazz, this person can do funk, he can do soul, he can do R&B. So at the very bare minimum, you got to have songs that reflect um, his versatility. So you got to have those songs. A lot of people are not gonna like those songs. A lot of
Hmm.
people, it's surprising that people tell me they don't like jazz, was just it boggles my mind. But
Well,
each his
we'll
own.
get to that in a minute.
Oh, really? Okay, okay. So I mean,
Yeah.
so I would think that yeah, that career spanning box set would have to include different genres of music that Prince has contributed to, so you can really show this artist's versatility and say,
Hmm.
because you're right, only you mentioned it several times in the podcast. Some people just kind of hopped in, on Purple Rain, and I don't know if some of these people, and I don't know if the average person goes like, well, hey, what album did Prince put out before Purple Rain? Oh, 1999. Oh, well, what album did he put out before 1999? Oh, Controversy. And but once again, you know, a true fan will go to the beginning. That's what we are. The average person, they may go one album back, and that'd be about it. Their attention span is like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
it's about as far as I'm going. So, from a marketing, because you got to understand the whole reason why I'm doing a career spanning box set is to make money. You got to
Right.
understand show business. You got to understand there is a business to show, and it costs money. It costs
Yep.
money to print this up. So you got to really look at it from, you almost have to take. And I'm glad, like even like with the Marvel movies, it's good that you get people who don't have a vested interest and attachment like we do. So right now we're Prince fans, but I don't think it's good for us to come with a career span in boxing because we're so attached to the music. Like me, I will be over. I'll be like, I don't know what to put on it. It's just he has so much music. I don't know what to put. But maybe you get someone who, from a marketing point of view, and then maybe we just kind of get someone that's not as attached to the music as we are. Because with us there'll be a certain conflict of interest. Because I love all of this music. Now, granted, yeah, there's some songs I don't like, and then of course those songs that I don't like, I'm like, nope, that's not gonna make the box set. But then you may like it. You go, hey Walter,
Yep.
how come this song didn't make the box set? I'm like, because I didn't like it. Then we get to an argument and so yeah, it's so hard. I think you really can't even put that on one person. You almost need to get someone who is not as vested in it as we are, which is and that's a hard thing to say because this music, Prince's music has really had a really good positive impact on millions of people around the world. Which you can tell that when he passed away, so many people. In fact, I know a friend of mine. She went up to her and her girlfriend drove up to Minneapolis just to see Paisley Park,
Oh
and
wow.
leave flowers, and it's like, for a person they never met before in their life, but they felt like they knew this person through his music. So you really
Yep.
have this certain attachment, and it's kind of like you're going to be slighted if your favorite song, maybe there was a song that really had an impact on your life and changed your life, but it didn't make the box set. Like, oh my God, they left out Weekend Funk. And that had such a powerful impact on my life, and I don't understand. And then all of a sudden, the whole, and that person to them that whole box set was suck just because that one song wasn't on there. They would
Yep.
not listen to it. Screw this. I'm not listening to it because Weekend Funk is not on there. It doesn't matter. It's 1,000 songs, which in realistically speaking, I mean Prince has more than 1,000 songs. Like, oh my God, you really it would be mind boggling. It would. I mean, even me thinking about this right now just boggles my mind. Obviously, I would want you to start at the beginning, but I would love something that shows his versatility. At the very minimum, I would think there should be like maybe a template. You know, put some of his heavier rock stuff on there. Temptation. Let's get that. Let's rock
Mm,
out and Bambi. Let's put some hard stuff on there. But those people came in. Maybe around I don't know, maybe Purple Rain because I use Purple Rain because Purple Rain really brought a lot of people to Prince. I use that as a catalyst that he really got a lot of people there. But he really didn't have. I mean, Let's Go Crazy. Yeah, you can call it rock, but compare that to Bambi. No, I mean, no, it'll be really hard.
mm.
I would almost personally, I would almost want the I wouldn't want that to happen because I think I would feel slighted because I'm pretty sure there's some songs I really really like wouldn't be on there, and then I'd be pissed. I'd be like, hey, how you how can you leave Weekend Funk off? Why's that? Why's that left off? And I remember, uh, oh man, what was this? You and I, okay, this was back during the band days, and I said something about I wanted to let's learn how to play International Lover. And at the time, who was it? Was our guitarist? I can't remember her name. And the
Oh,
face she made at me, and she
oh,
said, um,
I know,
yeah, I mean, she turned her nose up an International Lover. Dude, I'm like, what's wrong with that song?
I
Like, I
remember
think it's a good
seeing.
song. I think we close with that.
Oh,
I'm not playing that. And so, because there's
I
just so
forgot all
many good
about
songs
that.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so when you say that career spanning, it's like, ooh, not everyone's gonna be happy. But me personally, I would want something that really shows his versatility.
Hmm.
But a lot of people want to be like, oh my goodness, what is this heavy rock song? It sounds like heavy metal. And then once again, people get into those, oh, I don't like heavy metal. Da, da, da. Oh, I don't like jazz. So well, just give it a chance. But you
Yeah.
like Prince as an artist. Let this artist express himself. Let him express music. So yeah, for me, I don't know. I think a career spanning box set would just be too entirely long. It'd be almost overwhelming. I mean, it'd take you almost a year to get through. And the record company is like, we can't make I mean, I think in a box set at okay, like the James Brown, how many CDs was in that? That was a
That
lot.
was four.
Was it? It was only four. Okay, maybe it was just a lot of songs. And then what about okay? So then what about the Bob Dylan? I mean, normally I think with a box set, I mean, I guess four could be standard. I mean, maybe even
Well,
six.
that
I
was
mean, with
standard.
Prince,
Yeah, standard. Yeah, standard for then. So now with let's see. So with 1999 and Sign of the Times.
yeah, that was what
Let's see. So you got
six
the
CDs.
well. Okay, we'll take a look at Sign of the Times. So that
Yeah, that's
was the original album. Yeah. So
right. Which
that's
was two,
two CDs. You had the
right?
vault tracks, two CDs.
Good. Now we're at
Oh,
four.
the B side, the single edits and B sides. That's one more CD, so that's five. And then you had a
Five
live CD, and then
CDs.
you have
Right.
a
That's what.
live DVD. So that's seven. Yeah, seven discs.
Woo,
Well,
woo.
six disc and one movie.
Right. Look, and that's just one album. So,
Right,
now, granted, that's every single song, but you wouldn't for a box set, you wouldn't pull out every single song.
right.
So
Yeah, you'd
so
have to cherry pick, and like you said, that's the
right.
hardest part is to.
That's the hardest part. Is the cherry pick. But I would like to use this, as a template, show something that shows its versatility.
Mhm.
That um, the different genres of music Um, and even throw in, and you know what? Like I said, throw some jazz, throw in some instrumentals too. Prince did a lot of and did some instrumentals that weren't jazz; they were just instrumentals. Throw some
Yeah,
of those in there.
Alexa Day Paris.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, but man, it would be. Oh, that is just be. because I mean, really think about it. There's no other artist like Prince that was so prolific and so versatile, just the way that he
Yeah.
was. I mean, as I said before, there's you can do rock, you can do pop, you can do classical. You just never knew. Not the whole album wouldn't be that, but it'd be one or two songs that would be that way.
They had that feel. Yeah.
If I get a Judas Priest album, I can guarantee there will not be a jazz cut on. I can guarantee, and no shade at Judas Priest. Once again, I'm just using that as an example. There's not going to be a funk track. Not going to be a soul track on there. It's going to be what they've always done and what people know them for, and they're like, hey, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've always liked about Prince is that Prince never wanted to be put in a compartment. Can't compartment put them in a compartment. And excuse me, I'm coughing and choking.
That's okay.
and and that's one thing I love about him. And so if you're gonna do a career spanning, it's like, whoa. I mean, that's gonna be an album that's gonna have all different types of music on it. Some people are cool with that, some people are not so cool with it. But I think a lot of people know what type of artist Prince is, and I think they would. I don't know. I think it could be done, but man, it would be. I mean, you really would have to set a limit. You would have to really set boundaries, and I would think that because I'm the type of person I would try to get the most obscure Prince songs that no one's ever heard of, and they're like, "What is this song?" But it's a hidden gem from the Lotus album.
Hmm.
Not too many people know about the Lotus album. Not too many people, know about the art official. Then maybe few people do. I don't know. I don't know. And I can't generalize that. But
I would say mainstream. Yeah,
but from the
mainstream. Yeah, they wouldn't.
right, yeah, but from a marketing point of view, obviously they have to put the hits on it. They have to get the people to buy it. Fanboys like us, fans like us, hey, yeah, put Irresistible Bitch on there. It was a B side. Cool. I want to hear that. So I was a let's pretend we're married. Wait, hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute, what let's pretend we're married. No, that was on 1999. Irresistible Bitch was a B side to what? Uh,
Oh, let's pretend married. Yeah, that's the one. It's that one.
yeah, so Irresistible Bitch was the B side to Let's Pretend We're Married, right?
Right.
Remember
Yeah,
that correctly.
which you
Okay,
get.
cool.
Yeah, which you get on the 1999 Super Deluxe. So you get it with that.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so then you would have to cherry pick, maybe come up with 5 CDs, and whew, man, that's a lot of work. But once again, you have to make sure. But you have to include those hits though. So those hits, and Prince had a lot of hits that the mainstream people know about. So those will take up a good portion of it. And then you kind of get into those B sides. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say what songs would be included, but I just want the songs that I want.
Mm.
I want the songs that show his versatility. And that's what I would want. Whatever those songs may be. You know, songs where he has, maybe a little jazz to it, a little bebop. He has some songs with some bebop, and it was a little jazzy. He had a lot of pop stuff. That'd be easy to get. Um, a lot of funky stuff.
Oh yeah,
Let's get some bluesy stuff. Let's get some
yeah,
blues.
yeah. The Undertow.
Every
That's
genre of music. You know, so that would be my thing is that it shows or displays uh, his versatility as an artist. So I can't really say what particular song. You know, I mean, I know what songs I would want to see on there, but I would rather more so. I want people to really see like, wow, and I think a lot of people do know that about Prince. At this point, I mean, I could be wrong. There could be some people who, who's this Prince fella? Who's this Prince fella I keep hearing about? who's,
is that
who's
is
this
that
Prince fella that
Prince
the
on the
kids nowadays are talking
is that Prince on the TV saw? Is he a
about?
freak
Right,
or what?
exactly. You doing what?
Sophie, you're strange. I'm changing the channel.
Right, right. So I think everybody knows Prince,
Yeah.
and But once again, but you know what? Only certain people know Prince certain way. I think they only play certain albums on repeat. You know, they really don't venture
Mm.
out to something else. You know, or they may
Oh
listen
yeah,
to the opinions
definitely.
of others. You know, people. So I literally, I've heard people say Purple Rain was the only best Prince, the only album. No, it was the best Prince album ever. You know, anything that came out the Purple
Mm.
Rain, Prince went downhill, and I'm pretty sure Prince himself heard that. You know, from a lot of his people, or maybe even just secondhand knowledge. You know, but
Oh
as an artist, you just continue to go for it. You know, and the record company, hey, can you get us another Purple Rain? They made us so much
Yeah.
money. You
And he
know,
was
and it
like,
was like,
"No, here's this
right,
around the world in a
but
day. Deal with
right.
it."
Right. And I mean, and you know, but he could be at the level he can do that. I mean, but we also go once again, it's show business. There's a
Yep.
business to it. And you gotta, and you know, in order for you to survive, you gotta be able to, navigate those waters and balance yourself and teeter totter between show and between business. Because, you know, when you have electricity due, you say, hey, I'm $1 million, I'm a platinum selling artist. Can't you just let me have free electricity for a month? And they're like, yeah, right. Click. Then the lights are turned off. You need
Yep.
money to pay, your electric. So I mean,
Yep.
so you have to really, there's got to be a balance in there. I mean, yeah, it's cool to be an artist, but you also have to survive also. So you have to at least, have a product where people are buying. And I think, I know Prince began to realize that, obviously in the younger days, a lot of us, when we started off in this, years ago, you don't think about the business side of it. Like, hey, I want to be a rock star. And, but being a rock star doesn't mean you get free cell phone service. You still got to pay. You
Oh
don't
no,
get free water at
you
your
get
house.
you get the free cell phone service, but it'll be, when you realize that your royalty check was $1.97, then they'll be like, "Oh no,
Right.
remember that free cell phone?
Right.
We
Exactly.
paid for that free
Exactly.
cell phone."
Right. You hear, yeah, you watch it. Yeah. How many times have we seen that? Like, VH1 behind the music,
Music,
and,
yep. Uh,
and when I just saw the other night, I saw I don't know if I texted you that. I saw uh, the George Clinton,
yeah.
documentary. That really shocked me. That blew my mind. 'Cause I
Oh
thought
yeah. That's,
everything was on the up and up, but evidently it wasn't.
no, not with everybody. Yeah, it's
um,
like, yeah, Bernie Worrell's family. Yeah, they got, yeah. Then I don't know. They've been quiet lately, but like right after Bernie died, it was like they had some lot of harsh words
wow.
against the Clinton camp.
Yeah, and that it hurts. You're like, wow, you thought, you look at quote unquote, as we would say, our heroes, our musical heroes, and you would like to think they treat everyone fairly. I'm watching this documentary, like, yeah, we go to George's house, and he's on like 12 acres, and he has this, he has horses, and we all still living with our parents in the project. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait a minute, what? George
Wait,
too?
what happened? Right.
No. It ain't
Yeah.
so. So, but yeah, but so, you know, as we're talking about that career spanning box set, we also have to look at it from a business point of view. And we know that those hits, because that's the whole idea of putting it out, because they want people to buy it. And you can't put a bunch of obscure music. My only thing is the music that you do choose, make sure it shows his versatility, please. That's the only thing I would ask. And my favorite song may not be on there, but I can say, hey, you know what? They got this is showing, him, doing rock and doing some blues and doing some funk.
Mm.
Cool. I'm with that. Yeah, but Weekend Funk is not on there, but hey, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
So that would be
it's
but that would be my long answer to your very short question. Sorry about
don't
that.
worry. I've gone longer.
Okay.
It's all good because we had a lot of topics to cover too, so it's all good. But yeah, I was gonna say, kind of cap it off though. I know at one point, I think box sets. And I might be wrong, but box sets used to be kind of like, yeah, it's a collector's item. It's something for the fan base. But to me, it was almost like a selling point for like whenever they were going to reissue an artist's catalog. So it's like it's kind of like they give you that first hit with the box set. And it's like, look at all these hits this guy had. And then they, like I said, would have like album track or something, or a live track. And then, down the line, you get here's this artist catalog. It's all been remastered, so now you can, like, oh yeah, well, I like that song. That was the hit. And this was from this album. If you're reading the liner notes, this song is from this album. And then, like, oh, well, maybe if I buy the album, maybe every song will be great on that too. But
Hmm.
I don't know. Nowadays, I think it's just different. I think it's more
Yeah.
leaning towards it's this is the thing too. It's like when I watch these, Rolling Stones or the Beatles, and it's like it's the 50th anniversary of this album, or the, 60th anniversary of this album, and you like, man. And it's like it's cool for us because if we came up in a certain age, and there was this artist that was having hits 10, 15 years before we even became aware of it, and we get into it. By the time we get to this age, and it's like, oh yeah, it's the 50th anniversary of this album, and it's like, cool. There are a lot of people that were in that generation. It's like some are still around to get that, and some are like, they're not around to get that. And when it comes to Prince, I always joke that it's like, yeah, we got to start, eating right and exercising, and, because we got, 20, 30, 40 more years, 50 more years of Prince listening we got to do, So by the time we
Right.
hit 70, 75, then it's like, here's well, I talk about Purple Rain, you know, 2024 is going to be the 40th anniversary. Now, does the Prince Estate and Warner's come out with a 40th anniversary set, or do they just keep those cards close to the chest and come out with a 50th anniversary? So, that's, some extra years, and a lot of fans, I want it now, I want it now. But that
Right.
creates the demand. But like I said, here we are. It's, like the Beatles Let It Be that just came out Friday, that super deluxe set, 50 a year late, but 50th anniversary of that album. And it's like, and watch, people are still, they're still going to buy it. The people that were around in the 60s that were big Beatles fans, those that are left, they're still going to be buying it. You know, people like us, where we came in kind of 10 years after the fact, you know, we're shelling out money for it. And even younger generations are into it. So it'd be the same with Prince. So, and I
I just
agree.
remember something. You know the controversy. This is the 40-year anniversary controversy, and they haven't released anything special on the controversy album.
40th anniversary. Yeah. And you would think,
Hmm.
you would think instead of doing the diamonds and pearls, you would think they would have jumped out with a controversy set. Yeah, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I think they do have a plan of some
Yeah.
sort. And I think also at the same time, I think there might be, the dust settling on, now you have this new entity that now has a say in the estate now, that you have to work out those details now. So I think maybe some things are just put on the back burner. Hopefully there's some better ideas that'll be coming up in the years to come. But
Yeah.
I don't see, I know some people worry about, oh, if we don't buy everything, the estate's just not going to put anything out. And, like you said earlier, it's the music business. And
Right.
I don't think Prince is going to stop selling. Like I said, it's a no brainer to talk about Beatles and Rolling Stones. But if you look at, I mean, even Jimi Hendrix, it's a no brainer. They've been, Hendrix Estate has been putting out stuff for 25 years since they've been owning,
Right.
they've had complete ownership, and they
Yep.
still dropping stuff. And it's still, people are still buying it. Now, I don't know if
Right.
everything makes the top 10 or the top 20, or if they just look at the top legacy albums, or classic albums, if they look at those charts. But there are plenty of people, both diehard fans and even mainstream fans, that still turn up for Hendrix stuff. and Beatles stuff. So I don't think Prince is not going to, they're not going to stop selling Prince stuff overnight. If if that's what people are worried about. But with or without a box set, Prince is still going to make money. And like I said, we proved that with Welcome to America for sure. Something that wasn't even a classic album. It wasn't an 80s album. It still so because it had good marketing behind it as well. And
Right.
like I said, and price points, some people aren't in the position to buy the big box sets or the super deluxe editions. Hey, just buy the single CD.
Yeah.
You know, do that's still showing support. They'll look at those numbers, but box sets aren't going anywhere for a while. Both vinyl. I don't know about CD right now, but as long as we're still turning up for the print stuff, I don't. At least they'll still make print CDs.
Right.
All right, and let's see. That'll do that. So we've got time left for. Actually, we just had one submission. Actually, this was a submission from a while back. I just never got around to doing it because almost at the 0 hour. Decided that I was going to take that month break, which ended up being a month and a half break from it. And ironically, it stopped like right at 100. That was cool. Like, wow, episode 100 and just stop right there. Cool. So this is a submission from Wendell Samuels. I tried to locate the actual question itself, and I thought I saved it, and now I can't find it. But the gist of it is that he was asking about Prince's jazz influence, and I want to say I think he was thinking about Prince's legacy as far as jazz itself, but I think it was primarily about Prince's jazz influences, as well as basically the stuff that either he put out that we consider as jazz, or if there is a released or an unreleased collaboration with Miles Davis in the vault somewhere and stuff. So I thought this was an interesting topic, and especially to have Walter on, because like I said, we're going to tackle this earlier, but I remember, this is how I remember it, so I want to get your take on it. So as we were teenage music listeners, going into college music listeners, it was kind of, whatever was on the radio, we pretty much liked, for the most part. When it came to the records we bought, whether it was Prince or say whether it was Parliament Funkadelic, now they had horn sections and, you know, trumpet players, saxophone players, but that was just funky. We were kind of aware of Herbie Hancock. I know my dad had some jazz records, but I never like went and borrowed any or played any. I remember a bunch of Quincy Jones and, Dinah Washington stuff. But, as, we were, learning guitars and keyboards and stuff. And my thing was like, we don't need no horns. The time template is good enough. Two keyboards, a bass, guitar, drums, lead singer optional. That's all we need. We're good. Then comes the family album. And it's like, okay, got a little sax on that. And we also bought Chili's Romance 1600. Eddie M was representing on the sax on that. We've seen the live Purple Rain tour. Eddie M was on sax. Eric was on sax. We didn't quite, thought like, okay, that's cool. But to buy a jazz album, it was like, no. We're not going. It wasn't in my realm at the time. But then, like I said, with the family, that was kind of the first start with it. More so with Susanna's Pajamas, more so than Yes, because I felt like Yes could have gone on any time album, but Susanna's Pajamas, that was the first like instrumental in God knows when. If it wasn't like a Rolls Royce type of a thing, or some other artist like, or maybe BT Express or something like that, where just that instrumental was, I would sit down and listen to.
Hmm.
And then along comes January of 1987. I don't remember what we were headed out to do. I don't know if it was something musical to do, or we were just hanging out, about to hit the clubs or something. But you were like, I was at the record store and I bought this album and it says Paisley Park on it. And I don't know what it is. I think it's jazz. But I made you a tape. Let me know what you think about it. So, Walter, I'm going to get your version of the events when it comes to Prince and jazz and how it had an effect on you.
um, so I think you're referring to the Madhouse album. Am
Exactly.
I correct? In fact, it's so funny that, when you said earlier in the podcast, the last 45 that you bought, I think the last 45 that I bought was the single to six in Madhouse because of the beautiful model they had. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, I was in love.
Maneka Lightner.
Yeah, because it was her on the cover. She was on the beach in this little, she had like a swimsuit, and she had this hat, and she was playing in the sand, the beach, with like this dog. And I'm like, I'm just buying this because of her. I mean, I'm buying it for the music too, because after I listened to it, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I did. And I think, you know what? Now that, man, but dude, you're like bringing back memories here. Because now when I listen to Madhouse, that really did open me up to jazz itself. And when I got a chance to listen to, especially because you're right, we used to watch 8 a.m. with Sheila E's band. And the fact that you remember, I believe it was on the Sister Fate album. What's that one instrumental? It's like a 2 or 3 minutes long, and then
Mer-
uh,
Mercy for the
Mercy,
Sea.
Sea
Yeah, Mercy
Clown
for
in
the Sea.
Summer,
Yep.
Sea Clown in Summer, yeah,
Mercy.
and that's a
Yeah,
straight
Mercy.
instrumental. And Mercy, yeah, Mercy. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And Eddie M went ham on that. I mean,
Yeah.
he went ham on that, and that's the
Yep.
first time I heard. For me, jazz was supposed to be like, like suave. You play this for the ladies, and and this dude is going ham with this sax. Now, granted,
Yeah.
we've heard with James Brown, and was always funky, and Fred Wesley and Horn. So, but I don't
Yep.
know, he just ham on that particular. And I'm like, dude, Eddie, I'm doing it. I
Yep.
mean, it's up to the point it's like a guitar solo. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. So then you're right. When that Madhouse album came out, which is straight jazz, beautiful. I don't think there's any. I think it's all instrumentals. I don't think there's any jazz singing. I don't, from what I remember, I think it was all instrumental. It really
Hmm.
opened me up to the whole. It opened me up to the whole world of jazz, and I discovered people like Grover Washington and David Sanborn and Earl Clue. Uh, there's another guy. Is it Wes Montgomery? I think those are getting into like some of the jazz guitars. I'm trying to remember some off the top of
Yeah.
my head, and that opened me up to a whole nother genre of music, and I started listening to more jazz. And I really, at one point, I really got really deep into jazz. I mean,
Yeah.
I was playing more jazz than anything. I wasn't really listening to Prince that much. I was just listening to different jazz artists. And then when I would go into the record stove, I would I would go over to the jazz section and get introduced to other guys and other artists. And
Yeah.
the jazz singing never. It was more or less for me. It was the instrumentation. I love the instrumentals. I love to hear the artist. Whether it was a flute or a saxophone or guitar or piano, and just and it was just a flow to get into these flows with, and you just listen, and it just takes you out into this whole other realm. And it's like, man, I love the jazz. And yeah, I think I would say Madhouse was sort of, as they say, my gateway into jazz. And it was awesome. Because you're right, you thinking, yeah, Paisley Park. And I remember because when you look at that album, there's nothing to tell you like, because you don't even see who are the musicians. You
Listen,
just got this beautiful woman on the front,
right.
and every single they released was just her. I mean, I wasn't complaining because I thought she was just
Yeah.
hot. I know that, you would think like, is she playing on the album? Which would be doubly hot. Like she's a musician and she's hot. Oh my goodness, I'm in love.
Oh
But
yeah, that would have.
but we had to. I forgot how. I guess we just did some kind of research. We did. We went deeper to find out exactly who the artist was. And we're like, wow, this is awesome. And now, granted, and now as I say that, I have not listened to jazz. Oh my goodness, I can't remember last time I listened to any jazz. So now I'm thinking like, I need to get back listening to jazz again. When I first got my car, several years ago, I had what is that? The not Pandora. It's one of those streaming services I got free for like 3 or 6 months or whatever.
Uh,
I can't remember the name of it. It's similar to like Pandora and those
yeah, what?
free music streaming that you get in your car. I got it like free for three,
Oh,
3 or 4 months or something like
yeah, I got.
that.
It wasn't serious.
XM, XM,
Yeah,
XM, Sirius XM, yeah. And they had a jazz, channel, a jazz station, and because you can set up your favorites, and I mean my favorites it was just such a wide genre. I mean you went from jazz to funk to country to rock, alternative, classic rock. I mean I love it all, and blues. And I remember I used to drive and listen to jazz, especially if it was a warm day, roll those windows down. And well, once again, a career spanning box set would have to include that too. You
yeah.
would have to
Knowledge.
include that side of Prince too. Like he did this too. Listen to this, and people come to me and say, "Oh, I don't like jazz," which I'm like, how can you say that? Like, what did you listen to? And it's probably once again one song. One song a person defines a whole genre of music. And so I listen to country. People are like, oh, I hate country. It's like, have you listened? You probably listen to 1 or 2 songs, and so you define the whole genre based upon those 2 songs. There's so much, or the same person who said they don't like hip hop. I don't like hip hop. And it's like I'm not saying that every hip hop song is great. There's some songs that are not good. Same thing with country. Some country songs are not good.
Yeah,
But just I think when you make those absolutes, you're really shortchanging yourself. You're really missing out on a lot of good things in life. And just because you change the chords in music, and all of a sudden a change chord, I'm changing this chord, well now it becomes rock. You don't like it. That's just such an unfair thing to say.
mm,
It's I think if we open our minds up a little bit more and be like, okay, I listen, the person who told me she did like country, she was like, well, it's a whole tear in my beer because all country songs are sad. I'm like, no, not all country songs are sad. Some of them are really like good and
yeah,
exciting. I remember, and I can't remember the name of the country song, but the one country song was about he was singing like how his son told him like, Dad, I want to be like you, and he wrote a song about that. And it was really because what the guy was saying in the song was that he really needs to watch himself because his son is watching him to become him. So his son watching him helps him become a better man. It's for this person to write this out in lyrically and then put
yeah,
it to music and then
yeah.
quote unquote they call that genre country. And someone to come along and say, "Oh, I hate country." It's like, why would you say that? Why would you shortchange yourself? There's some really beautiful music out
Yeah.
there. Now, granted, now we're dealing with speed metal. That's come okay. I don't know about speed metal, but I'm still trying to find the bright spot in speed metal.
Death metal and
But yeah, woo, I'm like, yeah, when I say I like all music, I'm having my struggles with speed and death metal. Ooh, but but
so
yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah, it's
yeah,
it's messing with certain energies or
right,
frequencies that it's like, yeah,
right, yeah, but going back to your original question with jazz, that Madhouse album was just oh, in
ooh,
fact, you know what? And I gotta send you something on YouTube. I think I still have the bookmark. Uh,
mm,
uh, supposedly it was Prince, Eric Lees, and Bobby Z. I think they did some jazz cuts. There's about 7 jazz cuts. And I came across it on YouTube one night, and I think I bookmarked it. I gotta check, and I want to send it to you. and it's like I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And then
Okay.
so the person who posted it, I think they didn't know what year it was. I guess somewhere I guess on the estate, someone's leaking music out, and they kind of don't know like they're like, I don't know when this was made, but here you go. you know, and it's like six or seven jazz cuts, and they could have easily made it on Madhouse. This is something that could have been released, and I think people would have bought it. And I think that's one of the reasons why Prince didn't put his name and face on any of the Madhouse albums, because people would have been like, "Oh, this is jazz. I don't like jazz. I want to hear some Darling Nikki." You
Or it
know,
would have been a
and, you know.
or yeah, or it would have been the flip side of it too, where it's like, you had some die hard jazz folks going, that's not jazz. That's
Well,
I don't like that. Yeah.
yep, exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you got the flip side. You're like, oh, now who does he think he is? He needs
He's
to
right.
stay his lane.
Oh,
And that's
that
another. Yeah, that's
Prince.
something else. Ugh,
Stick
just
to that
one of my
proper
pet
stuff.
peeves. Right, exactly. When someone tells you to stay in your lane, it's like,
Yeah.
no, make the kind of music you feel that speaks to you. Just make it. Music wants to be heard. If you were to personify music, she wants to be expressed in so many different ways. Even with death metal, a loosely term, we call it music.
Now
Music still goes
we're
like
not condoning that, boys and girls. But
now
if
by
you
no
if
means.
you
I
do,
don't want to condone. Yeah, I don't condone any music. I know music. I know she wants to be expressed in so many different ways and so many
yeah,
different melodies. And let her be expressed through humans, because humans we express her music, and let her be expressed. So for anyone listening, if you quote unquote hate a certain genre, just give it another chance and listen to it. It's just
yeah,
music. Music wants to be expressed. Let her be expressed, and she wants to be, she loves to be loved and accepted. And like, hey, thank you for listening. I appreciate that.
yeah.
So yeah, so jazz. So the question that your listener, so he asked you what he was asking, who influenced Prince, or who did Prince influence through jazz, or how was the question?
Yeah, that's what I said. I wish I had the question still, but
Oh,
I
the
think the
original
gist of
question.
it.
Oh,
So when I read it, like I said, the gist I took from it, yeah, maybe his jazz influences. Um, I mean, his father was a jazz musician, so that's pretty much a
right.
hit. And like I said, given, like I said, my dad, even though I didn't live with him, but when I would stay with him, like I said, there was Quincy Jones albums. Like I said, I remember Dinah Washington. Um, I didn't go too deep, but I mean, I, after he passed, I noticed he had some Isaac Hayes, but that was actually my stepmother's favorite on that was Isaac Hayes. But yeah, but like I said, it was never anything in his collection where like my uncle was the biggest musical influence on me, but his was more blues with it. But all of that to say, when you grow up in a household and whatever's in your parents' collection, either you gravitate towards it wholeheartedly or you don't appreciate it until you get to a certain age.
Right.
And where the house I grew up in with my grandparents, yeah, there was Louis Armstrong, there was Ella Fitzgerald, there was Pearl Bailey, there was Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, there was all of that. And like I said, I really didn't appreciate it till much later. It was just like that was the music they listened to. But give me the Jackson Five, give me Earth, Wind and Fire, give me Stevie Wonder. That's what
Mhm.
I want to hear.
Right.
So I would think it's the same thing growing up with him.
Hmm.
And even though this part isn't related to jazz, I think where Prince and his father bonded, where he mentions it in the book The Beautiful Ones, where when his dad took him to see the Woodstock movie. And it was at that point, he says that they kind of were able to, have something in common, bond over something music. Not that his dad would have been heavy into Sly or heavy into Hendrix or anything, but he got to see through his son's eyes what he liked about music.
Hmm.
And, maybe in his own way, was able to challenge him differently, on a musical level, or inspire him differently on a musical level. So I there's that. I know that as far as jazz itself, Prince did like I think Kind of Blue and the Jack Johnson album. And then we see him holding up the You're Under Arrest album in Under the Cherry Moon. He's kind of got that as like almost product
Oh,
placement. Yeah. So yeah, there was a definite influence, but I don't think that it wasn't until, say, Eddie M or Eric Leeds, um, maybe through Wendy and Lisa to a point, to where, the idea, maybe not necessarily the influence, but in order to kind of take his music to another level, he saw the potential in all these other musicians to say, okay, well, let me utilize Eric Leeds in this way to go in another direction. Um,
right.
like I pointed out in that Twitter thread, about Susanna's pajamas, you know, 84, well, like 83, 84, 85, there were all these Prince imitators. You had Ready for the World, the Deal's first single was kind of trying to copy the time, but not copy the time. But the rest of their album was kind of like their own style almost, or some of it. And let's see, I don't know, and maybe some of the Dream Boy, those bands, and they were just copying, the cliche Prince riffs, and they were doing all the whining and the singing without, you know, understanding that Prince or Morris Day used that for an effect. It was a purpose if they would sing a certain way or use a certain voice. It was either for
Right.
comedy or for emphasis. And, these groups were just copying just to copy. And some got some hits out of it, some didn't. But I think with the Family album, with Parade, with Madhouse, he was able to use musicians and blend the style that, all these other groups are imitating, because basically Prince came up with his own sound, but taking elements of classic, music like jazz, or using more organic or natural instruments, and just not relying just on the drum machine or just on the keyboards, to,
Hmm.
take his sound and go in a direction that, yeah, they couldn't copy that. They couldn't, nobody
Right.
did an imitation Family album. Nobody did an imitation Parade album. It was 87, 88, and there was still people still trying to do the din, 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 or still trying to, whine and sing. Some better than others, but they were still,
Right.
before they figured out, oh well, let's go copy New Jack Swing instead. you know, let's go copy Teddy Riley now. You know, so I think that I think was a influence. I know one of the musicians you put me onto, Najee, ended up playing with Prince, which I think you
Okay.
saw. Yeah, you saw that concert. I missed out on that one.
That sounds familiar. Yeah. That's going way back.
Yeah, it was like 2000, 2001 or something.
Okay. Yeah,
But yeah, I mean,
Najee. A
yeah,
few of his albums.
yeah. Like I say, yeah, I remember you had a few of his, and 10 years later, then there he was up on the stage with Prince, and or you got to see him live, but I'm looking at, in a magazine or something on the internet, and it's like, oh, Najee's in the band. Whoa, okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, Eric's the man, but yeah, he got Najee in the group now. And it's a shame. I don't know. I don't know if they got stuff in the vault. If there's a Najee album in the vault or something. That's something I would like to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it could be. I mean, and I don't know. I don't. I don't know because Najee would Najee have like some kind of say in release? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how those recordings, if he's signing any waivers Was it all underneath the record? Who knows?
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, there's stuff with Lenny Kravitz that's in the vault.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. Lenny Kravitz
Yeah,
is one of my favorite artists. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess basically we turned this question into not really what Prince's jazz influences were, or what effect that Prince's jazz had on anybody else, but we know the effect it had on us, and it basically,
Right.
I guess, it opened it, opened it, it opened us to a whole genre of music. It exposed us
Right.
to something that, like you've been saying throughout the program, that it gave us the opportunity to give it a chance,
Right.
and it became the
Exactly.
music that the artists you got into.
Oh
Like I said,
yeah.
I ended up buying Miles. Oh, you got to hear. Let's see, we'll talk about it after the show, but like the David Sanborn album that was recorded at Paisley Park.
Oh.
Yep, and let's see,
Wait a minute, did
St.
I
Paul.
hear that? That sounds familiar, but I have
I
to. Yeah,
got
we'll talk about it
Yeah, after the show. I
more.
can't reach it to get the title of it, but
Okay.
it was recorded at Paisley Park. I forget what year. But Ricky Peterson's playing on it. St. Paul is playing on
Oh, sweet.
it. Yep. All right, so we're going to end the show now, and we're going to talk about the David Sanborn album now. But now that is actually going to end this episode, and this has been a joy to do this episode. It's nice to have a brother on the show to bounce these ideas off of, and definitely going to have you back on the show
Oh wow.
for sure. Because we got time
Thank
stuff
you. I
to talk
appreciate
about. Oh, anytime, man.
Oh.
Yeah, we got. In fact, I gotta somehow. Um, I gotta send you the zip file somebody sent me. The Japanese remasters of the Time albums. They're out of print. I was lucky to get a physical copy of What Time Is It? But it's Japanese remasters of all the Time albums, and then the two solo Morris Day albums too. I gotta make sure you get that too.
The Japanese remix
Remasters. So they
or
when
remasters.
yeah, so a few years ago, um, over in Japan, they had they remastered the Time albums and Morris Day, which is something that we don't have over here. Like none of their stuff is remastered except for the first album on digital, and which has now been reissued on vinyl.
Okay.
But yeah, we got to, maybe do an episode about that at some point. We definitely got to still campaign to get them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, some of Amari Purple Talk listeners are going, "Oh, not again." But I'm not
My vote,
shocked.
you tell me where to sign. I'm signing. The time deserves to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You tell
that's,
me.
that's right.
Those you're looking at an incredible group of musicians.
Yeah.
Incredible group of musicians.
Yeah.
And they and especially just even look at the things that Jam and Lewis have done, and all the artists that they help, they I mean, we're not dealing with amateurs here. These
Oh yeah.
men deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean,
Oh
no
yeah.
doubt.
Oh yeah. I've how many episodes have I done? One, two, three. Let's maybe two episodes and one special episode. So they know. But like I said, we're gonna keep the campaign rolling. We'll do another episode on that, or time in general. Maybe these Japanese remasters, and I don't. Yeah, we had the 40th anniversary of the first album, and we got next year coming up. Hopefully, we'll get that anniversary edition of What Time Is It? So yeah, we're gonna talk about some time. We're gonna talk about more Prince. We'll have other people on the show also down the road. So this is it. This is season 3. I'm happy. I'm hyped. I'm excited. This has been as much fun as playing Saints Row 4 and the Avengers game on Xbox.
You got to tell me about that.
Okay, no doubt, no doubt. So we're going to sign off here. Leave comments on one or all of the topics. Tell us what you think, what you would like to have, or if you have an idea or topic suggestion for a future episode. And we will be back next week. So once again, let's see. I'm not going to say keep it purple and on the one anymore, but I'll just say peace.
Peace.
Got a purple party people now. Time to get on the one. Keep it on the one. So we're all the purple party people now.